Abandoned by doctors, the millionaire's daughter made an insane comeback thanks to a cleaner. The news spread like wildfire, painting wild images in the minds of everyone who heard it. A lavish mansion shrouded in mystery, marble floors that reflected the moonlight, and a girl, once vibrant and full of life, now frail and fading, trapped in a bed of silk and sorrow. How could a life so privileged come crashing down? People whispered in hushed tones, eyes wide with disbelief, as they recalled how Sarah Whitman, the toast of the elite, had fallen victim to an obscure illness that left doctors scratching their heads. They had all but given up on her. Until, that is, a simple cleaner, a woman with calloused hands and a heart full of hope, stepped into the grand estate, bringing with her not just dusters, but secrets of healing that stirred the air like a summer storm. The air was thick with uncertainty when the cleaner, Maria, crossed the threshold, her worn boots sinking into the plush carpet like a drop of rain on a lake's surface. It felt surreal. The staff kept their distance, peeking out from behind polished doors, their eyes flickering with a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. Who was she to change the fate of someone like Sarah? As Maria scrubbed the endless corridors, she uncovered more than just dirt. She found traces of despair, echoes of laughter that lingered long after a night of charity galas, and forgotten dreams tangled in the dust. Something about her presence changed the energy, igniting a faint spark in Sarah's lifeless eyes, but days turned into weeks, and as the whispers grew louder, strange occurrences began to unfold. Late-night calls cut off before any words were spoken, shadows dancing in the corners of Sarah's room, a glimmer of something beyond the ordinary. Was it Maria's touch that renewed Sarah's spirit, or was there something darker at play? Unease settled in the corners of the estate like an unwanted guest, lurking behind every elegant chandelier. Soon, the household was caught in a web of strange happenings, where every door creaked open, and every secret buried spoke of the unthinkable. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Maria's heart raced each day as she saw flickers of change in Sarah. But she also felt the weight of something unexplainable, as if an unseen force was pushing back against them. Was Sarah's recovery linked to her, or was it a prelude to something far worse? With every turn of the page in the journal Maria found tucked under Sarah's pillows, chronicling strange dreams and eerie encounters, the lines blurred between healing and haunting. The tension escalated like an approaching storm, electrifying the very air they breathed. Maria knew she had to dig deeper, not just into the grime of the mansion, but into the truth that lay hidden in Sarah's past. That as night fell, the mansion took on a sinister shape, shadows twisting into forms that felt alive. There was a sense of dread, a feeling that they weren't alone. Could Maria unravel the mystery before it consumed them both? Or would the mansion's ghosts echo louder than the heartbeat of hope? The cold air sank deep into Maria's bones as she stepped into Sarah's bedroom that night. Shadows flitted across the walls, as if they had minds of their own. A chill ran down her spine, echoing the strange sensations that had haunted her since she arrived. Yet, despite the unease, there was a flicker of hope, a thread she felt pulling them back from the edge of despair. Sarah lay nestled beneath layers of silk, an eerie calm draping her like a shroud. Maria approached cautiously, hand trembling as she gripped the journal. It was a tangled web of dreams, half-scribbled notes and frantic sketches that spoke of otherworldly encounters and dark visions. Each page turned echoed Sarah's inner turmoil. What had the girl seen? What darkness had seeped into her mind? In that moment, Maria realized the journal was more than a diary. It was a map to understanding Sarah's illness, perhaps even her salvation. She had to confront the shadows both in the pages of the journal and those flickering in the corners of the room. But as she began to read aloud, the air thickened, stifling her voice. With each word, the flickering shadows began to swirl, forming shapes that whispered to her in hushed tones. Her heart raced, thrumming against her ribs. "What do you want?" she breathed, her voice barely a murmur above the oppressive silence. The shadows danced closer, weaving between the curtains and walls, creating an ominous tableau that stole the breath from Maria's lungs. Were these the spirits of the past, tormented by their own tragedies? In her gut, she felt the pulse of their anger and pain, pleading for release yet coiling around her like chains. She struck a match, its flame piercing the gathering darkness. The warm light flickered, and for a moment, the room appeared to shimmer with memories, glimpses of Sarah's laughter, her family gathered, celebrating. But with each flash of joy, shadows darted in, engulfing the moments in despair. The laughter turned to sobs. She could sense Sarah stirring beneath her blankets, caught in the web of their collective sorrow. "Wake up, Sarah," Maria urged, desperation gripping her. "You have to fight." But still, the girl's eyelids remained heavy, as if weighed down by the very darkness that crept around them. Maria fought against the growing sense of dread, the shadows clawing at the edges of her resolve. This wasn't simply about her, this was about spirits restless, trapped in a cycle of anguish. Fragments of their lives intertwined with Sarah's reality, forming a tapestry woven with sorrow. Had her arrival ignited the deep-seated fears lying dormant within these walls? Just then, a sudden crash echoed from the hallway, breaking the spell. Maria spun around, her heart pounding wildly. The staff had spoken of strange occurrences, objects moving on their own, chilling whispers echoing through the halls. Was something trying to come inside, or worse, was it trying to escape? She rushed to the door and flung it open, the air swirling around her as though charged with static. The corridor stretched ominously ahead, dark and foreboding. Instinctively, Maria felt the pull of the shadows. Something was drawing her in, but she hesitated. Could she really leave Sarah, who was so close to breaking free from her sad chains? The shadows gave a menacing hum, as if knowing her hesitation. With her heart in her throat, she turned back to Sarah, determination igniting. She would not let the darkness claim her. But as she stepped back into the room, the figure of a woman materialized in the corner, her eyes glowing with the fire of unbroken dreams. "You must choose," the apparition whispered, voice a haunting melody. "What will you sacrifice to save her?" And with those chilling words hanging in the air, Maria knew this was no ordinary night. The battle was just beginning. Maria's heart raced, every pulse echoing in the silence that enveloped the room. The apparition loomed, translucent and formidable, her gaze piercing through Maria's soul. "You must choose," she repeated, every word sharp like shattered glass. The weight of the question settled heavily on Maria's shoulders, suffocating her thoughts. What could she possibly offer to save Sarah? The shadows thickened, curling around the woman and then reaching out toward Maria. They were hungry for something, her fear, her hope, perhaps even her pain. Though the darkness beckoned her surrender, Maria stood firm. "I won't abandon her," she declared, her voice steadier than she felt. The apparition tilted her head slightly, as if intrigued by the defiance. "Haven't you felt their despair?" she pressed, gesturing toward the shadows that closed in. "It gnaws and claws at you. Will you pay for your friend's life with your own tranquility?" Maria swallowed hard. Could she make that kind of sacrifice? The faces from the shadows blurred together in her mind, their cries a symphony of sorrow. They were lost and, if she was honest, part of her had felt their anguish too. Like a spark in dry grass, the pain ignited her own buried fears. Memories whirled, a childhood bruised by loss, the suffocating grip of guilt and helplessness, but she clawed at those thoughts, forcing herself back to the present. Sarah was here, lying so close yet trapped in a nightmare. "I won't trade my peace for her life. I will fight." Maria shouted, the conviction in her tone filling the room with a sudden warmth, a flicker of light against the darkness. The spectre straightened, her expression stricken with an unreadable mix of sadness and respect. "The choice will cost you more than you know. The shadows thrive on doubt, on your uncertainties." The journal slipped from Maria's fingers, falling open at her feet. Pages fluttered as if caught in a storm, words swirling in and out of focus. There must be a way to free her without giving myself up. Maria cried. There has to be. For a moment, everything halted. The shadows hesitated, retreating slightly as if evaluating her plea. As Maria bent to grab the journal, a single word resonated through her mind: resilience. Resilience, she whispered, letting the sound fill her lungs. The shadows shifted, allowing a sliver of hope to crack through. Maybe it wasn't just the dark that needed an offering, maybe it was her resilience. Show me. She commanded, lifting her focus to the apparition. The woman remained silent, shimmering in response. Splinters of sorrow drifted around her. What if the others didn't ask her to give her spirit? What if they only wanted recognition of their pain? Her resolve strengthened. Your story deserves to be told. I'm not running from you. I'll hold your memories, share your burdens, I'll fight for you. The apparition's eyes widened, and the shadows trembled. They twisted, pulling back as if she had dealt a significant blow. But then, out of the corner of her eye, Maria saw movement. A small figure emerged from the shadows, a girl who looked hauntingly like Sarah. Dark hair framed her face, twisted in agony. She reached out desperately. Help me, the spectre implored quietly, her voice breaking through the air like glass shattering. I did not wish for this. With a shiver of realization, Maria understood. Not all shadows were enemies. Some carried stories, while others were simply lost. As she took a step closer, the darkness pulsed around them, chaotic yet disordered. Stuffing the journal under her arm, Maria didn't flinch as she faced the oncoming tide of shadows. I see you. I honor you. She shouted, heart pounding. No more hiding. The energy shifted again, a cacophony of sorrow giving way to a haunting melody. But just as the shadows began to wane, another crash exploded from the hallway. A heavy thud. This wasn't over. Something else was coming. Maria. Sarah's voice cracked through the fog. Get out. The urgency snapped Maria to attention, a rush of adrenaline surging. What was happening now? Who was breaking through the barrier? In that instant, she knew she had to make her choice. She had to confront whatever was coming, for Sarah's sake, for the shadow's story, and for her own peace. As the room grew darker and more tumultuous, Maria steeled herself against the unknown. Fight! She echoed back to Sarah, despite the fear that prickled down her spine. We're not done yet. The air crackled with tension as the shadows twisted violently, swirling like a storm. Maria's breath quickened, anxiety clawed at her throat. She had pushed the spectre back, but now the unknown loomed larger. The crashing sound from the hallway erupted again, heavy footsteps, an unmistakable intent to breach this fragile safe space. Maria. Sarah's voice trembled, tinged with desperation as it cut through the chaos. Don't let them take you. With every word, Maria felt the darkness clawing at her resolve. What was behind that door? Who or what dared to invade their refuge? Heart racing, she glanced toward the apparition, now shimmering and resolute. The spectre stood as a bridge between the seen and the unseen, a guardian in this escalating chaos. Maria could feel the urgency, the weight of choices pressing down on her. Stay focused. She shouted, clamping down on the fear that threatened to overwhelm her. You're not getting me. Not now. The shadows hissed, a chorus of whispering voices echoing in the stillness. You are bound. You cannot escape what you owe, they murmured, seducing her with doubts, her past failures, moments of weakness. No, she snapped, shaking her head violently. I'm not afraid of you. I refuse to let you win. Just behind her, the door burst open with a deafening bang. A figure stumbled into the room, silhouetted against the flickering light. Maria's heart hammered in her chest as she studied the outline, tall, broad, with lurking menace. Move! Came a new voice, harsh and commanding. It wasn't Sarah. It wasn't familiar. Panic surged as the man charged into the room, his presence rippling through the air like a shockwave. The shadows recoiled momentarily, giving Maria a fleeting moment of clarity. "Who are you?" Maria demanded, stepping forward defiantly, intent on protecting Sarah, on confronting whatever threat had just emerged. "Get out of here. Now." His voice was gruff, urgency drenching every syllable. "They don't care about you. They only want to consume." Before Maria could respond, the shadows recoiled, a collective hiss erupting from them as if warding off the intruder. Flickering darkness wrapped around him, but he pushed through, eyes blazing with a primal intensity. "You! I know what you've done." Confusion gripped Maria. "What are you talking about?" But then, the apparitional woman stepped forward, her translucent form barely holding together, hovering between them. "He speaks truth," she said, her voice lower now, filled with gravity. "Your past is woven into this nightmare. He knows it." The man's eyes burned into Maria, piercing through the chaos. "You can't hide from the shadows. You were supposed to set them free. But you turned your back. And now they're coming for you both." The word stung. Anger flared. "What do you want from me?" Maria shouted, voice taut with emotion. "What do you mean I turned my back? All those you abandoned your choices haunt you, Maria." His words cut through her defenses, exposing raw vulnerabilities she had tried to bury. The room pulsed, shadows creeping closer, echoing the truth in his frightful proclamation. "Help us." Sarah's cry shattered Maria's hesitation, fear emanating from her. "Please." Time slowed as Maria weighed the shattering reality around her. The shadows screamed for retribution, real hope battled the echoes of her guilt. She grasped the journal tighter, its pages now both a weapon and a lifeline. "Then let us set them free." Maria roared through the confusion, channeling the surge of courage that had ignited earlier. "I'll take responsibility for my failures, but I will not let them destroy us." The shadows recoiled again, momentarily arrested by her conviction, their cries twisting into frantic whispers. But before Maria could gather her next move, the heavy thudding from the hallway deepened, a relentless force intent on tearing through. "What's coming?" she demanded, her eyes darting toward the blurring darkness, a dread creeping in. "Worse than you can imagine." The man's voice trembled, a sense of urgency lacing his tone. "You need to choose fight or succumb. The end begins now." The shadows surged once more, fierce and unyielding. The moment was rising, a cliff's edge waiting for the leap. Maria felt her heart gasping for breath, as the darkness promised devastation, waiting for their final act, and just then, the whispers transformed into manic laughter, ringing through her mind, reminding her that every choice comes at a price. "Maria!" Sarah cried, pointing toward the chaos descending at the door. "They're here." What had she unleashed? The climax hung in the air, electric with fear and anticipation, as Maria prepared to face the horror that awaited them. The shadows exploded forward, spilling into the room like a ravenous tide. They hissed and twisted around them, a blurring mass of dread and despair. Maria's pulse thrummed in her ears as she locked eyes with the man who had invaded their refuge. The depth of his intensity held her, a tether in an otherwise chaotic storm. "Stay behind me." He barked at Sarah without shifting his focus from Maria. His formidable frame braced against the onslaught, ready to defend, but Maria felt the heat of the shadows inching closer, a suffocating heat that clawed at her skin. The time for hesitation was gone, she could feel the weight of her choices suffocating her. "No. I want to hide." She shouted, stepping beside him, defiance coursing through her like adrenaline. "If you want me, you'll have to take all of us." The shadows paused, twisting momentarily in confusion, as if cracking under the force of her declaration. She felt power surge through her, laced with the fear of what she had left behind, the loved ones who had faded from her life. "Your regret won't save you." The man shouted, his voice thunderous, shaking the walls around them. But Maria only gripped the journal tighter, its presence grounding her. Your past is coming to collect its due, you have to face, he started, but the shadows swelled again, a powerful cacophony filling her head with maddening whispers of fears she'd buried long ago. Face what? Maria responded, her voice rising above the din. I have faced my demons. I've stood at my own grave. Then you know what you must do. He insisted, eyes darting between her and the shadows. You may have wrestled with your conscience, you cannot wrestle with your past. A thought struck her like a lightning bolt. Are you saying I have to confront them? The people I lost? The shadows surged, seizing the moment of her realization. They screamed in fury, and the noise felt like shards of glass shooting through her mind. Maria gritted her teeth, refusing to succumb. Yes. The man yelled, desperation lacing his tone. You must own up to it. Only then will the shadows lose their hold on you. But what if I can't? What if they're too far gone? She murmured, doubt creeping back in. The shadows writhed, mocking her uncertainty. Then they will claim you, and it will all be for nothing. He took a step closer, urgency melting into his voice. It's the only way. You are stronger than you know, but you've turned your back too many times. Maria. Sarah screamed again, clutching her arm, fear spilling over her calm demeanor. You can't let them destroy us. Fight back. Clarity pierced through the chaos. Maria's throat tightened, not with fear, but with a fierce sense of determination. Fine. She shouted, reclaiming the power that pulsed deep within. Let us do this. I'm not afraid anymore. I accept my past, and I am ready to face it. At her words, the shadows hissed, recoiling as if burned. The man's posture shifted, he nodded with an understated respect. He knew what she had embraced. Good, he said, his voice softer now, imbued with something heavier. But remember, choices come with consequences. Before the last of his words slid away, the specters surged forward. The white-hot light of Maria's conviction sparked, illuminating the dark recesses of the room. She could feel it, the imprints of every life she had abandoned flooding back to her in vivid clarity. Then, silence engulfed them. In the heavy stillness, a figure flickered into view, the outline of a woman with tears shining bright under the pallid light. Maria's heart twisted painfully. The woman looked just like her mother, a face she hadn't seen in years. Why, Maria? The haunting apparition whispered, the shadows relenting slightly around her. Why did you leave us? Maria's breath caught, her heart heavy with unshed tears. I didn't mean to. I thought what? The apparition pressed, voice echoing through the air like a funeral bell. The room collapsed around her, the pounding darkness threatening to engulf her as whispers rose to a deafening wail. Face what you've lost. The man shouted urgently. With the weight of 1,000 memories crashing into her, Maria trembled, caught between the hopes of a past that seemed to drown under the shadows. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, the apparition reached out, her face torn between sadness and fierce determination. You can still save us if you're willing to pay. What price would she pay? Maria's heart raced, choices laying bare as the darkness loomed closer, mocking and insatiable. The air thickened, the weight of what lay ahead pressing urgently down on her. Maria, Sarah whispered, fear flooding her voice. What are you going to do? Time stood suspended as she contemplated the specter's haunting charge. The abyss waited, hungering. And in that frozen moment, she knew a choice had to be made, but would it be the end of everything she held dear or the beginning of redemption? The silence shattered as Maria's gaze locked onto the apparition's tear-streaked face. It was a moment thick with meaning, an emotional weight that felt like a noose tightening around her throat. What do you mean? She finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper, her heart racing. You have the power, Maria. You can choose to bring us back. But there is a cost, the specter implored, her eyes alight with unfulfilled hope. Shadows writhed around her, hungry for the hesitation that lingered in the air. "What cost? What do you want from me?" Maria asked, desperate to grasp the reality of the situation. "Let me in, Maria. Embrace the pain. Allow your grief to fuel you," the apparition urged, her voice echoing in the thickening darkness. "There is no redemption without sacrifice." The shadows hissed in anticipation, a menacing roar vibrating in the walls. Maria could feel their eagerness, their temptation wrapping around her like a shroud. She wanted to recoil, to run back to safety, but the desperate plea in her mother's eyes anchored her. "They can't take you away. I refuse to let you go again." Panic gripped her heart, an ice-cold realization dawning. This was not simply about facing her past. It was also about risking her future, potentially losing everything once again. "Your only chance lies within the fire of your memories," the apparition persisted, each word imbued with urgency. "Face your regrets, and in doing so, break the chains binding us to this place." Behind Maria, Sarah trembled, shock coursing through her. "What's happening, Maria? You can't believe her. This is insane." Darkness shifted, seemingly delighted with the discord. It fed off their fear, a living entity thriving on the chaos. With a sweeping motion, the shadows lunged at Sarah, crackling like lightning, intent on silencing her. The man stepped forward, gritting his teeth, his presence a protective barrier against the encroaching tide. "No!" he roared, channeling his strength into a blinding beam of light that carved through the darkness. "Confront them!" he yelled at Maria, his voice unyielding. "Your fears have no power over you if you choose to face them." In that blinding moment, clarity ignited within Maria, a flickering flame that refused to be snuffed out. Drowning in unresolved pain, she understood the weight of her sorrow had kept her chained to this dark moment. If she didn't confront the specters of her past, she would inevitably sink into them. With trembling hands, Maria stepped forward, lifting her chin defiantly. "I am not afraid. You've haunted me long enough," she declared, her voice bold and unwavering. The light around her flared brighter, illuminating the shadows that recoiled as if struck. Suddenly, the chill of the room shifted, the very air quivering with her new resolve. "I will face my choices, my regrets. I will not turn my back again." As she called her memories forth, the darkness stirred restlessly. It formed into swirling images of laughter and loss, faces she cherished and those she lost. With each heartbeat, the memories materialized, flooding the room with brightness that contrasted the shadows starkly. Maria, her mother's voice echoed, woven through the images like a haunting melody. "You can change this, you must choose wisely." The shadows erupted in rage, furious at her reclamation. They twisted and howled, the cacophony a demon's chorus clamoring for her attenuation. In that moment, Sarah gasped, "They're fighting back. We have to go." She grasped Maria's arm, panic flooding her voice, but Maria was steadfast. "No. I won't run anymore. This is my fight. I won't abandon anyone again." Her declaration reverberated, resonating deeper than ever before. The shadows, now frantic in their motions, shrank under the weight of her defiance. Clarity coursed through Maria as her memories burned bright, colors exploding into the darkness like fireworks. "I choose to embrace the shadows, to face the reckoning. I'll pay the price." The apparition, her mother, began to shimmer, the sadness morphing into a fierce pride. "Then let the truth unfurl, Maria. Revelations await." In that heartbeat of fierce defiance, Maria found herself standing at the precipice of transformation. But as the shadows recoiled, their whispers intensified, shifting into a new voice, a deeper growl, a whisper promising devastation and despair. "What if the truth is darker than you've ever known?" it taunted, slithering into her mind with chilling seduction. This new din sent ice coursing through her veins, a premonition of what lay ahead. The confrontation was just beginning, and as the darkness writhed angrily, Maria inhaled deeply, preparing to embrace whatever truths awaited her. but could she bear the weight of those revelations, knowing the cost might be higher than her heart could handle? As the veil of darkness rolled forward, she braced herself, heart racing, ready or not. Was the price too steep for the chance at redemption? Would the truth bring her healing or destruction? The shadows pulsated around Maria, their swirling darkness thickening like a storm ready to unleash its fury. She could feel her heart hammering in her chest, a constant reminder of the stakes at hand. Embrace the shadows, she whispered to herself, as if the very act of affirmation would fortify her against the impending chaos. Suddenly, the temperature dropped, the air crackling with invisible electricity. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, to abandon this confrontation, but the flickering images of her past anchored her in place. The laughter of friends long lost, the warmth of her mother's embrace, they all swirled through her mind, intertwining with the terror of what she faced now. "Remember, Maria," her mother's voice echoed, soothing yet urgent, "the truth isn't just about the dark. It's about what you find in it." The words surged through her, igniting an ember of hope amidst the encroaching doom. The deeper growl reverberated through the air again, more menacing this time. "You think you can control this? You think you can resurrect what is gone? The past is a grave that won't easily accept your touch," it taunted, its voice a chilling echo within the depths of her memories. No. She felt a fire ignite within, fueled by every ounce of loss, every regret she had buried deep. "I refuse to be a prisoner." Stealing her gaze, Maria took a step forward, her defiance carving a path through the chaos. The shadows hissed, recoiling at her determination. "Foolish girl. You don't know the depths of grief that await you." But Maria felt that her pain was a tempest, but it was also a weapon. "I do know. I've felt it. But I won't be defined by it." She lifted her chin. "I choose to remember, to reclaim what you've stolen from me." Each word felt like a blade slicing through the darkness, light erupting from deep within her as she summoned the memories, each one more vivid, more real than ever before. She could almost hear the laughter. The echoes of joy and sorrow intermingled, creating a symphony of who she was, and who she could be. The shadows writhed violently, as if caught in a cyclone. They howled and shrieked, the cacophony a dreadful chorus intent on pulling her back into despair. "Focus, Maria." The man shouted, his strong presence still guarding Sarah. "Trust in your strength. You can rewrite this story." She could hear Sarah's breaths coming in short gasps, feel the trepidation radiating from her friend, but there was no turning back now. Maria's heart swelled, an unyielding determination breaking through the weight of despair. "I will rewrite this story. And I will bring back what I've lost." As she spoke, the shadows cracked, fragments of light piercing through their inky tendrils. The apparition smiled approvingly, but the deeper growl transformed into a frenzied roar. The darkness towered before her, swirling into a massive vortex, the embodiment of her most repressed fears. "Let us see if you can withstand the truth." It bellowed, unleashing a whirlwind of memories paired with torment, each one more harrowing than the last. Maria gasped as scenes flooded her mind: the night of the accident, the shattering phone call, the depths of her sorrow. She stumbled back, clutching her head. "No. I won't be undone by this." With a surge of will, she pushed outwards, determined to face the chaos. Each twisted memory was met with defiance, light battling back against the waves of darkness. "You don't control me. I control my memories. I will not run from them." As the vortex around her began to glitch and contort, the shadows strained against her resolve. The air shimmered, and for a moment, reality fragmented, revealing glimpses of what could still be a different future, but just as hope glimmered, the growl erupted louder than ever, crashing around her like thunder. "You think you can change the course of fate? You have no idea what darkness lies in wait. What else could you possibly take?" She shouted back. "I've lost enough. You will take no more." And amidst the swirling chaos, a light shattered the gloom, a periphery of brightness that shimmered. Brighter than the darkest night. But as Maria reached towards it, doubt seeped back in, clawing at her heart. Could confronting the truth about her past truly lead to salvation, or would it consume her entirely? As the shadows howled and the light beckoned, Maria braced herself for the inevitable tidal wave of truth, knowing that the next moments could either set her free or enslave her forever. Fear clawed at her insides, but she couldn't back down. "Maria," her mother whispered from the shadows, "trust the truth but be wary of its cost." Could she hold on to her sanity even as the darkness roared around her? And what price would she ultimately pay for the revelations that awaited her? The wind howled and the shadows surged, a vortex of despair swirling around Maria. The light beckoned, its glow manic and pulsing, flickering like a dying flame. She stepped closer, her heart pounding with the rhythm of a drum, the weight of her decision pressing down harder than the darkness surrounding her. "What do you want from me?" she called out, her voice steady despite the tremor she felt inside. The growls subsided for a moment, allowing an eerie silence to blanket the chaos. "Want?" The shadow rumbled, the reply echoing with disdain. "I do not want. I am the hunger you feel in the pit of your stomach. I am the fear that suffocates your every breath. I am what you've avoided for far too long." As it spoke, the memories twisted within the storm, reshaping her reality. The laughter morphed into cries, the warmth recoiling into cold solitude. The faces became masked, distorted by the haze of regret, and she clutched her head tighter, fighting against the waves of anguish. "Stop!" she shouted, collapsing to her knees on the cold ground. "I won't let you take this from me. Take. I merely reveal," it hissed, the shadows fluttering like flickering candles. "What you bury deep cannot stay buried forever. Your own memories will be your prison." Images exploded within her mind, her mother's tear-streaked face radiating despair, her father's unspoken words hovering in the air like a heavy fog, the emptiness in the home that used to be filled with laughter. The onslaught was relentless, and Maria grasped onto the edge of her sanity. The man, her protector in this maelstrom, stepped forward, courage mingling with panic in his eyes. "Maria, listen to your heart," he urged. "Recall the strength you have within. Don't lose yourself here." His words, a balm to her frayed nerves, flickered like firelight in the dark. Maria closed her eyes, struggling to push the memories back. She was done being haunted. Drawing on the warmth of hope, she whispered, "I will not forget my past. I will not forget who I am." With each word, a framework of light began to weave around her, grounding her, forming a shield against the oppressive tide. The shadows seethed, their form distorting, hissing with animalistic rage. "Light has little power here. You think you can escape me?" The vortex roared, tossing her back as it rampaged like a wounded beast. The man lunged towards her, his grip firm on her arm, pulling her back from the brink of despair. "Maria. Find her. Find your mother in that darkness." She focused. Deep within her, where hope danced defiantly among the ashes of despair, she saw her mother's smile through the suffocating gloom. Memories of strength danced alongside the painful specters. "I will embrace all of it," she declared, illuminating the shadows with her determination. "I will reclaim my power." The darkness howled as light erupted from her core, shattering its malevolence. With a cry, Maria surged forward, a phoenix rising amidst the ashes. Brightness enveloped her, a rescue from the chaos. But resolution came with a price. The shadows writhed and screeched, clinging to her fingertips as if afraid to let go. "No. You will never be free, Maria. You are eternally intertwined with your grief." The light pulsed violently, demanding a choice as Maria wrestled with the flood of feelings threatening to consume her. She faltered, her muscles tightening with uncertainty. Could she bear the full weight of her memories? Would she be able to live with the truth she might uncover? In that moment of turmoil, the shadows coalesced into a massive figure, its form looming larger, darker than she had ever seen. "What will you do when all is laid bare? When light reveals the darkest truths? Can you handle what you find?" Maria faced the figure, heart racing, breath quickening. She knew the answer would change everything. But before she could respond, the shadows lunged forward, grasping for her feet, pulling her down into a dark abyss. What truth awaited her there? And would she still have the power to rise above it, or would this battle end in surrender? Maria felt the darkness dragging at her feet like a pack of wolves, relentless, hungry. Panic surged through her veins as she gasped for breath, the light flickering behind her like a memory fading away. Was this it? Would the shadows consume her? Fight, Maria. The man's voice penetrated the dark. He was still there, unyielding. His presence anchored her, but she could feel the weight of shadows pressing in, thirsty for her despair. I can't. She cried out, her voice cracking. The abyss loomed deeper, colder. Every instinct screamed for her to submit, to let go. There was a truth buried within her, a truth that could destroy everything if she allowed it to surface. With a force that was both brutal and liberating, the shadows surged upwards, wrapping around her waist. Memories morphed into a cacophony of heart-wrenching sounds: her father's shouts, her mother's sobs, the echo of lost laughter in an empty home. They clawed at her, demanding to be acknowledged. No. She shouted, forcing the words out like pushing against a tidal wave. You will not take my memories. I own them. The light within her sparked anew, a tiny flame igniting against the smothering darkness. It pulsed rhythmically, breathing life into her resolve. She took a deep, shuddering breath and centered herself. I am not afraid. The shadows hesitated, trembling as Maria's spirit grew brighter. She could feel the warmth radiating from her core, pushing back against the icy grasp. The man's eyes widened, a gleam of hope flashing across his face. Focus on them, Maria. Channel their strength. He urged, lifting his arms as if trying to believe in her. With every surge of light that spilled from within, the past gave way to clarity. She remembered her mother teaching her to stand tall, to embrace the uncertainty of life. Memories once tinged with sadness now shimmered with the essence of love. The weight of the shadows shifted, revealing glimmers of gold that had once been buried beneath sorrow. Your darkness is not stronger than my light, Maria declared, and with those words, she launched herself upward, breaking through the confines of despair. The shadows screamed, furious at her defiance. As she broke through, the massive figure began to fracture, splintering into shards of darkness that exploded in a whirlwind as the light expanded. Each piece dissolved into particles, fleeing as if they were under siege. The air crackled with energy, the remnants of her struggle swirling like fireflies in the night around her, but the shadows weren't the only ones changing. Deep within the chaos, Maria caught a fleeting glimpse of twisted truths, whispers of betrayal, secrets long hidden. There was a darkness in her family that she had never acknowledged. A sudden silence enveloped her as the last remnants of the shadow dissolved. Stunned, she gasped, realizing what lay before her. The truth was an avalanche, ready to crash over her. What have I done? She whispered, an icy chill creeping over her. The bright victory felt tainted. She was free, but what had she uncovered? The air grew thick with the weight of uncertainty, every breath heavy with implications. The man reached for her, his eyes wide with concern. You did it, Maria. You faced them. But she could only stare into the emptiness where the shadow had been, wondering if she had truly won or if a darker truth loomed, waiting to turn her light into darkness once more. What do I do now? Maria muttered, deep unrest flooding her soul, gripping her heart in a vice. As she stood there, the echoes of a deeper truth began to swirl in her mind. Her past was not yet finished with her. The struggle was far from over. What revelation would rise to meet her next? And would she find the strength to face it, or would she once again be ensnared in sorrow? As the echoes of darkness faded, Maria stood in the aftermath of what felt like a storm. The brightness that had once surrounded her flickered like a candle vying against the wind, but she clung to it, pushing back the shadows that still whispered in the corners of her mind. She had faced the depths of her fear, and yet, now she was left daunted by the revelation that emerged from those shadows, her family's hidden truths. Maria turned to the man who had stood by her during the chaos. "What now?" she breathed, anxiety tightening her chest. "Did I truly free myself?" His expression softened, a mix of pride and understanding shining in his eyes. "You did what so many are afraid to do. You confronted the darkness. But remember, with each revelation comes a responsibility." The weight of his words sunk in. She felt the faintest tremor in her hands, a reminder of the cost she had paid. "What if the truth destroys what's left of my family?" she whispered, her voice cracking under the pressure. "Sometimes, the truths we fear most are the very things that set us free," he replied softly. He gestured behind her, toward Sarah, who had been watching from the doorway, fear still etched on her face. "You need to share this with her. She can help you carry the weight of it." As Maria turned to Sarah, the gravity of the moment enveloped them both. "I don't know how to face it," she admitted, her voice trembling. "What if it's too much for her?" Sarah stepped forward, her expression steadying Maria. "You won't be alone. We face it together," she said, voice infused with warmth. "I've watched you fight through something bigger than either of us could imagine. I believe in you." Emboldened, Maria nodded. They hadn't just fought the darkness, they had forged a bond through the fire of despair. Together they could unearth the truths hidden beneath layers of sorrow. "All right," Maria whispered, the words gathering strength. "We confront the past, but this time, we'll shed the light together." With hesitant steps, Maria opened the journal again, flipping through the pages that crackled with secrets waiting to escape. In her heart, she felt the shadows linger, but there was also flickering light, a hint of warmth, urging her forward. "There are things I buried. Moments that need to be talked about," she said, addressing both Sarah and the man. As Maria spoke, the memories spilled forth like a river breaking through its dam, each word unearthing both joy and sorrow. Her mother's smile, the laughter shared over dinner, the moments before tragedy, twisted into a painful tapestry. But as she shared, she also felt the shadows retreat, their grip loosening under the warmth of acceptance. With each truth shared, the light grew brighter, filling the room with an almost tangible energy. Sarah listened closely, gathering courage as her own fears and uncertainties surfaced. "What if it hurts too much?" she confessed at one point, tears glistening in her eyes. "It will," Maria replied, placing a reassuring hand on her friend's arm. "But we don't face it alone. Along with the hurt, we'll find understanding, and together we can heal." As the shadows swirled less menacingly around them, Maria and Sarah vowed to reveal their fears to their loved ones, to rebuild their broken connections. They would break the chains of silence and resentment that had held them captive in the mansion of despair. The man, watching them with admiration, stepped back slightly and nodded. "Remember, embracing the light doesn't erase the darkness. It simply makes the fight worthwhile. You have what it takes to carry on." Maria turned back to him, gratitude swelling in her chest. "You have been a light when I couldn't see," she said softly. "I don't even know your name." "Names don't matter in the face of true connection," he replied, his gaze steady. "But you can call me whatever you need as you continue on this journey." As the confrontation settled into a calm, there was a new resolve among them. It was time to reclaim their lives, both past and present. Maria embraced Sarah, and together they stepped into the light. Ready to face the family turmoil that awaited them. It wasn't just about healing one girl, it was about opening a door to a room of possibilities, ready to free each other from the burdens they had been forced to carry alone. In that moment, Maria felt lighter than she had in years, her heart swelling with hope. They were not just survivors, they were warriors ready to face whatever lay ahead, armed with trust and the promise of change. That you've made it through a harrowing journey, but don't forget that the story continues beyond today. If you want to feel the thrill of new adventures and captivating endings, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support and smash that like button. You can't leave me hanging. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. What are your thoughts on Maria's journey? What do you think she'll face next? And don't forget to share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible resolution. Don't wait even one more second, get involved and keep this journey alive. Your voice matters here. Let us build this community together.